Hello.
Hi. Kantara starts in the 1800s. It's a Kannada movie with a king seeking mental peace and calm and coming across a deity in a forest when he realizes that this is it. And he's soothed and calmed and decides to take the deity back to his kingdom when the local priest um, warns him that he can do that only if he grants land to the local villagers. And the king promises and is told that if he breaks the promise, there'll be bloodshed and consequences. Now, finally, the king takes the deity back to his kingdom, and there's peace and harmony, and everybody's living um,
Happily.
happily.
Cut to about 100 years later, one of the king's descendants, this kind of brash guy living in Bombay, comes back and he wants the land back from these villagers who he believed don't even know the value. Now, Kantara in Kannada means mythical forest. And that's when we see a couple of supernatural events happen, where this brash young kid questions the priest and asks him whether it's actually the god speaking through him or it's the priest himself. And let's just say two things happen in quick succession. Now, the movie cuts another 20 years, and we come to the 1990s where the entire film is set. We have the king and his descendant, who's the landlord, played by Achyut Kumar. We have Rishabh Shetty, who's playing this good for nothing villager, still living in the forest. He's a womanizer, he's drinking, he gets into fights, his mother doesn't like him. And it's his brother, cousin brother, Swaraj, who's actually playing the role of the priest now. And we also have a new protagonist. We have the Indian government led by its forest service and the forest officer played by Kishore, who also wants to preserve the forest, who also has issues with the way the villagers live, and then has to figure out what the local customs are, etc., etc. Key roles played by Saptami Gowda, who's kind of a villager but also a forest officer. Other key roles are played by lots of friends of Rishabh Shetty, including Prabhakar Kundar, who plays a kind of a Mahadev kind of a role. I think it would be unwise to proceed without giving superstar credits to Arvind Kashyap, who's the cinematographer, and Ajnish Loknath, who is the music director, because both were critical parts of the movie.
Right.
And I'm going to pause now and ask Ritu what she felt.
It was delightful. It was a visual treat. I mean, you just were mesmerized with uh, everything that is shown in the village, the buffalo fights, the scenes, in the water, the tree house, the village itself. It was you're transported, into that village, that era or whatever, and it was great fun seeing Rishabh. He's a delight to look at.
I think the amazing part is that while you're watching this visual treat of a movie,
Right.
and you're getting involved with these characters, I think the fact is that these bigger questions come back to you.
Yes.
For example, what we humans are doing in the name of progress, how we are destroying the harmony with which, let's say, our planet exists, how we covet the land but not the forest on which it is based, how we take away the rights of all the locals. And this happens in every country. In India, we would call them tribals. In other places, you'd call them aboriginals or red Indians, etc., etc. And then we proceed to divorce them from their land and destroy their customs, take away their children, take away their education, etc. Uh, and I felt it was quite amazing how, with such a gripping storyline, with such a loud soundtrack, with such beautiful visuals, despite all of that, these questions kept coming at the back of the head. And I mean, we've seen this Colombian series as well,
Right.
called the green forest.
It was
And
on similar lines.
and I mean, there are themes which are similar as well.
Yes.
Just loved the visuals and loved the characters. They were so beautifully etched.
Right.
And I love the way they mixed the supernatural into a very real world scenario.
Right.
There's court cases, there's prison, there's fights, there's gunfire, there's buffaloes, there's water, there's rain, and of course trees. And in the
And
midst of
fancy
all
cars and
this,
jeeps.
in the midst of all this, there still is space for the supernatural,
Yes.
right?
And for me, another thing that came across was realizing your true purpose.
Yeah, and yeah, sometimes it is hidden for us, and sometimes it
Yes.
takes an event to kind of bring it out. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Most important point, Ritu, what would be your rating? So at the count of three, one, two, three. Oh, so I think I gave it. I could even have given it a 9, but possibly it's 140 minutes long. Possibly it could have done with a little bit of editing. Otherwise, I just was blown away by this movie.
And
It's
for me, it
amazing.
was basically maybe it was in Hindi that we watched it.
That's true.
We couldn't. There was no show with English subtitles.
Yeah,
Possibly that took away
that took away some of the
some
charm.
of the
The
charm.
soundtrack is amazing too, by the way. I mean,
Right.
the songs, the power of the music, it's just outstanding. So, yeah, 8 from me, 7 from Ritu, and we would really recommend you watch this in theaters and let us
Right.
know what you think. Thank you.
Thank you.